T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
That's me.
T minus 1 minute.
Oh, was I?
T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds.
Hey.
Hi.
There's a little bit of a glitch there with the, the computer got started. The last session, it's all gone really well, but the broadcasting went a little bit glitchy then, but we're here.
Hello.
We're all good. Hey, Kelsey.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. This is our last episode, I guess, for our Women in Music series, but we have some awesome guests today, so it is going to end with a bang.
It is indeed. And don't forget, everyone, that we have this is the last chance to enter our prize draw from Adam Audio, and we have the we're giving away a license to the Brainworks BX console Focusrite software, and we've been giving away one each session, and we've been notifying the winners, haven't we, Kelsey? So they're all happy. And then in this final session, we will be giving away to everyone that's entered so far, and to anyone that enters today, there'll be one person that will win a pair of Adam T8Vs as well, which are very similar to this one I have. Which way is it? That way. This one behind me here, which you can see. This is a T7V. So the T8V will be giving away the pair of to one lucky winner, and they'll be announced next week.
Yeah, the T8Vs are actually Adam Audio's newest monitor. So
nice. So when the person gets that notification, then we want some photos, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
We
Okay,
gotta see them in their studio setup for sure.
Exactly. We have people coming in already. That's brilliant. Watching, fantastic. We'll say hello to you all in a minute. And I'm going to disappear now for a second whilst Kelsey can introduce the first of our special guests.
Cool. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, these two probably don't need much of an introduction, but we have Wendy and Lisa today, who are an Emmy Award-winning musical and composing duo based in LA. You may also know them from Prince of the Revolution, but they are also incredible composers and songwriters, which we will get into further today. But thank you guys so much for joining. This is awesome to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, what have you guys been up to during this kind of weird time? Are you guys still creating?
We've had a conversation about this a lot lately. For a lot of people, it's a great time to be creative because you're so isolated and you got to do something with your energy. But I have found it impossible to be creative right now. So yeah. The past three months or so has been like, I've been sitting in a corner biting my nails, basically.
I feel you. What about you, Lisa? Have you been struggling too? Feel
Yeah.
creative?
I mean, I have my music for an outlet, and I've been doing things just personal outlet things, but no, it's kind of, and my concentration level is like,
Yeah.
I try to work, and then 20 minutes later, I'm like exhausted, like, oh God, it's been hours. But it's been,
I've worked all day on this
yeah,
project.
I worked all afternoon on this project.
I know. I've been feeling that as well, just in my day to day. Sometimes I'll just like move to different spots of the house. I'm like, oh,
Right.
this seems more fun
like,
to sit
I'm
here.
going to go out into the backyard for the 100th time now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Well, we're going to get into questions in a second, but I'm going to let Yvette introduce our other ladies.
Yes,
Hi.
indeed. And just to let you know, we've got a big hellos from London. We've got Birmingham, UK. We've got Birmingham, Alabama, as well as Birmingham, UK. We've got Berlin. Yeah, we've got Berlin. We've got all over the place. We've got someone saying, "Hey, Lisa and Wendy, looking good." So that's
all right.
Good.
Okay, good.
Pandemic looking good.
That's it. That's it. I want to bring in Lachi. Hi, Lachi.
Hi, Lachi.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
All good, all good. And just to introduce Lachi, she's an award-winning singer, songwriter, producer from over in the US. And we actually met through Lachi liked Traction Software on Twitter, or followed Traction Software on Twitter. I managed their social media, and that's how we found each other. And we've been doing things ever since. So I just want to kind of like highlight the point to everyone listening, and we've covered it in topics before, is that just go for contacts and collaborations on social media. People can just either ignore you, say no, or say yes. What's the harm? Right?
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, and it can lead to incredible, amazing things. So let's bring in our final guest.
Hello.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. Nice to see all of you.
You
too. So Laura does amazing things with stage shows and stage sounds and epic presentations of music, which we'll go into obviously when we do your kind of introductions. But another link there is that I met Laura again through social media, through Traction Software, when she was doing a promo for Mock, which is a Wave Razor, one of their plugins. So again, I just reached out, said, hey Laura, do you want to be part of this project that we're doing for Women in Music? And of course the answer was yes. So I love those links. I love those links. So thank you, ladies. Yeah, exactly. So Kelsey, do you want to go around each one and kind of go into more detail?
Yeah, I guess we're all we can all see the same squares. So we can start with Lisa. We'll just talk about how each of you kind of got into music and the music industry and what that path has looked like.
Well, I was born into the music business. My father was a studio musician when I was a little kid, and he used to take me to sessions sometimes with him, and I got to see everything from like a Wrigley's gum commercial and how they did that. And then I went to like a Jackson 5 session, and it was, it was so cool to be at, the Jackson 5. And, I still remember that, as just really impacting me in a big way, and seeing how studios work and how musicians kind of worked and got along and doing, different takes when I thought everything sounded amazing, and then they'd say, stop, do it again, or hey, guitar player, you messed up that part. And, so I just was born into it and always knew that that's what I was going to do. And then I guess when I was 19, I got lucky enough to go on the road with Prince. And that was like my first actual touring gig, and it was presented to me like 2.5 months, like it's just going to be a little tour and a thing. And so I moved to Minneapolis thinking I'd be there for like 2 months, and then
8 years later,
so pretty much the next decade of my life was spent doing that. So that was a lucky streak for me.
Amazing. And what about you, Laura?
Well, I grew up playing violin and went to school for electronic. Well, I didn't go to school for electronic music, but I fell into electronic music when I was in school after going to a rave. And my best friend started dating George Clinton's son's producer. So I sort of like, by way of several
6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, I found myself in George Clinton's studio learning how to produce. So that's how I started learning how to produce. And then many years later, my first tour was also, didn't realize it was going to last so long. I started touring with Kanye and toured with him for 7 years, and similar kind of thing. I was like, okay, I'm just coming to do this, this one thing. And then now, like 7-8 years later, I've been all around the world. So kind of runs the gamut, but there was a lot of not sexy stuff in between all of that as well.
What about you, Lachi?
I have been doing music pretty much all my life. Fell in love with the keys and just harmonies ever since I was a young girl. I remember going to a music store with my mom. She was trying to buy me a trumpet or something, and I just fell in love with the keyboard. I was like maybe 3 or 4, and I saw that you could hit 3 notes at the same time, and it made just this crazy, amazing harmony. And I fell in love with harmonies ever since. I fell in love with arranging, songwriting, and I found myself, in really fortunate situations just through songwriting, collaborating on songs with like Snoop Dogg and songs with like Markus Schulz. And as I continued to songwrite, I just kept finding myself in bigger and better rooms. And I thought, I'm good at this then. I must be good. Must be good at this. So it's just been kind of an upward, an uphill battle and an upward mobility at the same time. But I recognize how fortunate I am, and I just get to wake up and do what I love every day. And there's nothing better than that.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Wendy.
Well, my story is not that dissimilar to Lisa's. My father was a musicians here in Los Angeles. He was a session guy, and I grew up in the same environment, watching sessions from the Beach Boys through Sinatra, through Bette Midler, through, our fathers, believe it or not, were the actual band for the Partridge Family. So we'd go to these sessions and see like a Wes Farrell, who was this producer back in the 70s, producing a Partridge Family session with our fathers, And so I've always been very comfortable around gear and in studios, around tape, around microphones, around isolation booths, around mic techniques. And I was kind of a gear nerd at a very early age, but sort of a private like gear nerd. And I started playing guitar when I was around 6 out of necessity, because my older brother at the time was pissed off that I kept playing his drums. And my mother was like, they got to get her another instrument. And I was like, and so she bought me a guitar and she said, I'm going to take guitar lessons with you, Wendy. And so we went and found a teacher here in the Valley in Los Angeles, and I took a couple lessons, and my mother was like, I'm out of here. You got it. And I kept going, and, cut to, here we are, talking about how I got into music.
Cool. That's so good. Awesome. That's so good. And we're going to go through some questions that Kelsey has prepared, and also some questions that come through on social media before this. And then we'll get into all your live questions. There's loads coming through already. So I'll be keeping an eye on those, and we'll go through the flow of that. And we've got 45 minutes to go through. So that's all good. I just wanted to, before we go into the questions, Kelsey, is Laura, you have a project that you run.
Yes, I do. It's been great. For a number of reasons during this time, but a couple of years ago, I do touring stuff, and then I also do online education, and so
I know I follow you.
Oh, wait a minute!
She do follow me back.
I do. I have. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh!
Absolutely correct.
I'm like blushing now. You do. So yeah, it's been great during this time, because I've really gotten to work with independent artists that want to level up their live performances online. gotten super into live streaming and doing all the cool techie stuff that you can do. And so I have a course called the Transmute Accelerator, and we're in our 4th iteration, and it's awesome. We've got special guest speakers that come in and blow people's minds in the course. And so that's my program that I have going on right now, and it's just transmuteaccelerator.com if anyone wants to check it out.
It's in the comments as well. It's in the comments. So
She's great. She's great.
I'm like,
So
wait
is
a minute,
Lachi.
what?
Very, very talented person.
It goes like cross promotion. It's amazing. So Kelsey, I'll let you crack on with the questions, and then just let everyone know there's so many questions coming through, and we have got a limited amount of time, but we will come to your questions at the end and try and get through as many as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so kind of transitioning back into Wendy talking about being a gear nerd. You guys work out of a studio in LA called Treehouse, correct?
Yeah, that's our treehouse.
We do.
Cool. Could you talk just a little more about that?
Lisa, you want to take it?
Yeah. We rent a room at the old A&M Studios, which is now Henson, and we have this great room. It's mostly a Pro Tools room, so we've got our Pro Tools rigs, and we have 2 rooms actually. A little satellite room that's next door where Wendy works a lot, and so we're always sending things back and forth. If we're like working on a show or a film, we can kind of split up the duties, and I can work in one room and she can work in another. And we just have, people come in there and they just walk around and they're like, oh my God, because we have so much gear that we have one wall that's lined with guitars just hanging on the wall. Wendy can attest to her. She's got so many guitar pedals. It fills up a whole wall of shelves. And that's not even all of them. We've redecorated the studio to accommodate the guitar pedals.
Hey, some girls like shoes. I like guitar pedals.
There you go.
It's true.
That's awesome. The gear world can be a slippery slope, I think.
It is.
Like, it's nonstop.
I
But
mean,
we're very lucky because we have access to tie lines that get us down to
Right.
the big rooms downstairs. So these are really kind of our production rooms, although we've recorded a couple albums up here. We've got a beautiful whisper room that I do my drums in. And when Lisa and I composed Nurse Jackie, I was in this second room in the whisper room playing drums with my monitors. And she was in the other room and we were composing at the same time, watching screen. And, she could play the piano and I could play the drums, and we'd be like the pit band to a black and white movie. It's like, to a silent movie.
Silent films, yeah.
Yeah, so we had that option here, but then we have the tie lines downstairs and then access to anything we need. So it's just, we're really lucky. We've been here something like 16 years now.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And they have like a great mic collection too. So it's
Although
really
it was pillaged when A&M sold to Henson. Irving Azoff and all those dudes, what's the dude? Not Irving. I forget it. Never mind. Go on.
Well, it sounds like you guys have a killer setup there.
Yeah.
it is.
It feels like
it's
home.
good. It's home. It is.
Yeah. We'll do one for Laura. What do you love about being a female in the music industry?
I just love being an example of what's possible. I just love to show women that are coming up that they can do this, because when I'm sure with everyone on this panel, there weren't a lot of role models when I was first starting out. So that's just, my passion is to just be an example and to show that it is, and just inspire, really.
Awesome. Well, I think you're doing a great job of that.
I do too.
Lachi,
Yeah.
what would you say to a young female artist just starting out?
I would say that you are strong, whether you know it or not. And so just don't succumb to intimidation, because, as long as you have that confidence within yourself, you can, it sounds corny, but it's true. You can accomplish anything. And you know, a lot of people think to themselves, okay, well, I don't already have connections. I don't already have, you know, this and that. And I'm certainly not going to compromise myself to get to the next level. You really don't have to. As long as you really hone your craft and are just super good at what you do, no one can really tell you nothing. You know, if you walk into a studio, I've had situations where I'll walk into the studio. Here's a great example. Someone texted or DM'd me and said, hey, I would love for you to record vocals and send them over to me. What's your setup? And so I gave them the list. I told them what my mics were. I told them what my speakers were, my monitors were, my software, the hardware that I had, my mixing board and everything. And I gave them my make and my model. And they came back and they said, is that your gear or your boyfriend's gear?
Oh,
And I said, okay, A, either you're trying to tell me that I can't have this gear, or B, you're trying to hook up with me. Either way, it's very inappropriate that you said that. And so, I mean, you're going to get that a lot, but you know what? As long as you're good at what you do, you can tell who's not worth your time, because people who are worth your time don't care whether you have knockers or not. They just want to get a good job done.
Yeah.
I think that would be my advice.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We've lost Wendy for some reason. Is she gone?
Uh-oh.
She'll join in a minute. She'll come back in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah. She'll pop back in.
I thought you were going to say that they took your gear list and then they just bought everything for themselves or something.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been terrible too. Yeah, sure. This is my setup. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, here you go. Recreate my whole setup.
Wow.
I've just had a comment come through, and I'm not going to do questions obviously, but Kataka at Gara said guys need to catch up with women.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
I might interject with a few comments like that, you know, as we go through.
Kataka's in my Transmute program.
There you go.
Cool. Welcome. Wendy and Lisa, the burning question. Tell us what it was like working in Prince of the Revolution.
It's going to take longer than 45 minutes for that, guys. So just in a nutshell,
it was
the
busy.
most important years of our lives. They shaped, it shaped everything. We were so young when we started. It was all the magic age of 19 when we all started, and we considered it sort of like becoming a doctor. You know, we spent a serious, concentrated, focused amount of time learning a specific craft and getting extremely good at it, so that when we left, we knew how to perform brain surgery. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was
I mean,
incredible.
We rehearsed constantly. One thing that Prince understood was, you know, working hard. And as a band, like when I joined, we were still playing clubs and, you know, driving station wagons and then, you know,
staying in motels, not hotels.
Right. Right. Feeling really creepy a lot of the time. But yeah, it was like a dream come true, because we just worked our way up gradually. With each album, it got better and better, and we hit big success with Purple Rain, and then everything was like really different. We had, you know, Lear jets and bodyguards and crazy things like that, limousines and all that. So we got to experience the whole range of, you know, what a band goes through, which is really incredible. You know, very few of us get to experience the whole range, you know, of the club life to the stadium life. So it was a most amazing decade.
Yeah, it sounds like an incredible whirlwind.
Yeah, it was. It was nuts.
Amazing.
I want to add one thing to that for girls, for women, because Lisa and I have had a certain amount of comfort in the role as a musician and being around gear before Prince, it helped us get through that whirlwind, right? So to learn a bit of our craft before joining that situation helped us maintain who we would be after that situation. So that I just wanted to add that.
Mhm.
I love that. Laura, so you also do a lot of live show designing. Can you tell us more about that and some of maybe your favorite projects you've worked on?
Yeah. So I do music programming and playback engineering. So for people that don't know what that is, that's when you go to a concert and you hear music that the band might not be playing or that the band's playing alongside. It's also syncing up the lighting and the visuals, and it can get very creative with sound design and triggering, drum sounds and MIDI controllers and all that kind of stuff. So I'm responsible for programming and setting all of that up. So, my first gig was actually with Cirque du Soleil, and talk about going from, I didn't even know it was a gig to a huge gig. So that was a really important one. Throughout the years, I have worked with many different artists, and all of them have been amazing, incredible situations, because every situation's quite different. Certain artists are more straight ahead with their playback. Other artists want to throw everything at the wall and do the craziest stuff on stage, and those are the artists that I like to work with. So one of those artists was actually Herbie Hancock. I got to work with him on his solo show he did with technology a few years ago, and showed him what I do as an artist and as a one-woman show, and then we adapted a lot of that to what he did, and so that was a great experience. Another one is working with Bon Iver. Just simply, he's the nicest guy and an incredible artist, and we had a lot of chill times at his cabin place up in Wisconsin, where all the folklore comes from about his music. So
awesome.
There's amazing, many different stories, but those are some of the ones that I really enjoyed working with.
Wow, you've done such a wide range of things. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Lachi, what is next for you? Well, I guess we were speaking earlier and you mentioned that obviously your tour had to get canceled this year along with everyone else's. Are you hoping to replan that, or are you doing something else? Like what should we see from you hopefully soon?
What's really interesting, because a lot of tours were canceled, and as a top line writer, as a songwriter, I work alongside a lot of touring DJs, providing top lines or even accompanying them as they do live shows and doing my own live shows. And because of this pandemic, because live shows have been canceled, not only have mine been canceled, but so have those of the people I work with, the DJs and whatnot. And so it's given me a lot of time to focus not only just on creating and sort of honing my craft even more and just making some bigger and badder and crazier connections. Look out for some crazy collabs coming soon. I can't mention them right yet, but I've been able to focus on some of the things that I've been wanting to sort of like hone more into outside of music. One of the really big things I've been wanting to really push for is just more diversity inclusion and disability inclusion, since I myself am blind. And I have been able to really start getting that message in front of more people when it comes to like entertainment, music, Hollywood, TV, things like that. So I've really been pushing for, stop. Yeah. I've really been pushing for that a lot. So I've been spending a lot of my time just, again, working on non-music ideals that I've really been wanting to push forth, that my career was just, I kept putting on the side because I had so much to do with so many different people that wanted everything right now. That's one of the big things that you'll be seeing coming out from my space, if you haven't been seeing it all over the place already. But again, like apart from that, I've been doing a lot of collaborations of songs coming out on some really amazing labels, as well as doing live shows here in my apartment. So I might be hitting up Laura about what she's talking about.
Oh my gosh. Please, I love that.
So there you go. All right. Yay. Thanks, Yvette. You just made this connection.
No worries. No worries. And just for everyone listening, or everyone watching and listening, there is Lachi's links have been put up into the live chat, as have Wendy and Lisa's, as have Laura's. So you can follow them. You've got all the links now.
Yes.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Cool.
yeah,
It sounds
so
like
that's-
you have still been very busy during
Yes.
this your time. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had some fan questions sent in throughout the week. We're going to address some of those, and then we will get to the live Q&A. Here we go. I'm just going to pull some. Laura, what do you want people to remember you for and as for your music?
You're too young to answer that question.
Right?
That's
I was
something
going to
you
be
should
like,
be answering
whoa, that's
on
a
your
legacy question.
deathbed.
Yeah. I'm older than you think. I'm older than you think.
God.
I've been around. I've been doing things for a while. Probably just innovation, pushing the boundaries. I'm just always trying to do things that at a big concert, they would never let you do because it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, well, especially right now, we're live streaming, so I'm just throwing everything against the wall. Like, oh, does this work? Oh, no? Okay. But I really just like innovation, trying, inspiration and innovation and bringing together, visuals, lighting, like being a one-woman show, being able to do it all myself, really just showing
So
that
good.
there's
So
like
good.
I love that.
there's
love
there's
that.
Yeah,
no
that's very
boundaries,
cool.
So
it's
good.
like, oh, okay, yes, I just
So
continually
good.
keep adding to my palette of things and the control, because I'm a control freak, so
There you
Bring
go.
it on.
having all the control.
So good.
It's okay. At least you're admitting it.
I don't want to be remembered as being a control freak, but but rather an innovator and
Beautiful.
inspirer. So yeah.
Absolutely. Wendy and Lisa, what did the process look like when you both recorded your debut album together?
Oh, God.
Oh.
Well, what was the process like?
Yeah. Did you guys write together separately?
Well, yeah, no. We wrote together. Everything was always together.
We pretty much
the-
wrote everything in the
In the studio.
studio.
We were really lucky at the time. We had just been with the band. We just disbanded, and it was like 3 months later. And me and Lisa and Bobby Z, the drummer to the Revolution, we took a little mini vacation together, and we went to Palm Springs together. And we were talking about, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We got to figure out something to do. We got to do something immediately. So instead of letting time go by, we decided to book a room in Los Angeles and record our debut record. And we spent, I don't know, this is back when you could do this, when it was feasible to do this in a big room. Now everybody has their own little private rooms in their homes and stuff, but back then we didn't have that. So you'd have to book a room, and we camped out, and we stayed there for about 4 months, and we recorded this record, the three of us. And it was the process was interesting because we went from Prince and the Revolution, and then a massive expectation was on the two of us to keep that up. And we kind of wanted to do a big FU to the community at large by saying, we're not going to do what you expect us to do. We're just going to kind of make a record and see what happens.
Right.
And it ended up sounding very different than Prince and the Revolution. For better or for worse, it put us into a category that I'm proud to wear as a proud musician, but it took us away from being pop stars into being musicians.
Yeah.
And when you're back then branding and trying to get into the business and being a woman, very difficult to be a musician and not a pop star.
Well, yeah,
Now,
I think
you still have that issue now. I mean, it plays itself out in different ways now. But when we were recording that first record, it was a conscious decision to try to make it less gender specific and just be musicians and see where we went. For better or for worse, we never made it on the top of the charts ever again. But I'm okay with that because we've done what we've wanted to do and make the music we've wanted to make and work with the people we've wanted to work with. And it helped our desire, which was even prior to Prince, to get into film and TV work. And that's what that whole first record was like. That's what it was like for us.
Cool. That's really interesting. Lachi, let's see. I have some for you. Has the pandemic impacted your creativity / inspiration?
In my inspiration, that's interesting. Well, I'm based out here in New York. So New York is a lot of my inspiration, has been, because, you know, it's one of those cities where it's just the toughness is what makes it beautiful. And now that the city is a ghost town, for definitely a ghost town, and definitely doesn't have that, you know, vivre that it used to have. It does sort of impact that more general, like, infusion of inspiration that I would usually put in my music. Like I would walk out on the street and have to like punch my way through walking down the street, and it was just great material for my. But now it is a little different. I am actually a little busier. Actually, I don't know if other people are experiencing that, but I am a little busier through the pandemic, because as soon as it hit, I had nothing to do. And then I was like, let me take on 1 million projects. And then all of a sudden I'm doing 1 million projects. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's a good time to sit back and reflect and figure out what you really want to do, and then just go for it, because it's all up to you. No one's pulling you to do this or do that. So I have actually been a lot busier during the pandemic, which I'm grateful for.
Amazing. All right, let's pull another one of these. This one says, each pick one Wendy and Lisa song and tell us something interesting about it that we may not know.
Let's see. Well, on the very first, on our first album, we wrote a song called Song About, and it's a song about Prince, and it's based on chords from a song that he wrote on his first album. So,
cool.
It's
nice.
Kind of a little secret, not so secret thing if you listen to both songs.
A nod to Prince, yeah.
So that's a little something. What
What
do you think?
That
Wendy?
was really good, Lisa. Well, I was just going to say that most people don't realize that our records are just performed by you and I. So all the instruments are just, we don't hire out really other players. So,
wow.
You know, Lisa calls me her favorite band, which I always love.
You're handy to have around.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, do you guys want to move on to the Q&A so we have plenty of time to answer those?
Yeah,
Let's
that's
do
good. There's loads coming through, and in fact, a lot of the questions have been answered by the questions that have been sent in prior, which is really, really good. And we will try and go into the Q&A, the chat afterwards, and see if we can answer anything that we haven't answered live. But here's one really interesting one for all of you. Question to all: is there anything you feel that you have been prevented or discouraged from doing within the industry because you're a woman?
Ooh. Pretty much everything.
Is there anything you feel you've been prevented or discouraged from doing within the industry? Oh my God.
Well, Wendy talked about us trying to be, that on our first record we came out more as musicians. And we were sort of criticized and told that we should be the pop tarts that we are with that and not try to be so muso. So, just trying to create whatever you have inside of you. You're going to be judged by your gender. Does it sound like a girl record? I don't know if I like it if it doesn't sound girly, whatever that is,
Right.
So it's a tricky business.
It is a tricky business. How about you, Lachi? What have you found? Is there anything that's kind of prevented you or discouraged you from progressing?
Well, it's not so much today. Now that my name is definitely a lot more known when it comes to the dance music realm and DJs and whatnot. But earlier on, when I was trying to get a footing in that realm, just as a vocalist, songwriter, there was a lot of battles of, I deserve my percents, I deserve my rights, I deserve my my back end, I deserve the pay, I deserve this and that, I deserve the credit. And it was always just a fight, because it was always oh, well, she's just some girl, she's just the artist. A lot of things did change once I, got a manager and got my agents and things like that to speak on my behalf. But it was definitely sort of whatever, she's just the singer. Let's not, she doesn't need any percent. She doesn't need, we'll make her happy with like a 10% and she'll go away. And it's like, no, I deserve the same percent everybody else is getting, because I'm putting in the work that I need to put in. And I shouldn't, get any less because I'm either a female, or because I'm newer here, or because, I'm not part of the club. And like I said, that hasn't been so much of an issue these days, but definitely when I was just kind of starting out and getting my feet wet, that was a constant battle. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the up and coming vocalists and singers, especially the female ones, are dealing with that. And I think that as long as you stick with consistency and don't be afraid to ask for what you want, because the worst that could happen is they just say no. And then you just go find someone who will give it to you, because they're the ones that are worth your time.
Perfect.
I feel like that answer has kind of been like a common theme throughout this entire series. So many women on like the previous panels have said that as well.
Exactly. I know. I totally agree with you, Kelsey. It's definitely a theme. And Laura, how about you? I mean, is the realm you work in male orientated?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been the only, female programmer that I know of until recently, when I've trained, other women through my company. But I mean, I think the earliest memory I had was when I was in college, and I was doing the classical music thing. I was playing in orchestras, and I was told that it was too pretty to have a career as a classical violinist. I wouldn't be taken seriously. I needed to dowdy myself up, to be taken seriously. And then, and so that actually really did discourage me, from playing classically. And then, I did get into electronic music and fell in love with that. And then I was told, oh, you'll never learn how to produce. The learning curve is too high. Just stick to playing violin over records. And, that just lit a fire under me to learn. And I just continued on from there. And every step of the way, it was like, oh, you can't do tech support because, you don't know what you're doing. And there are no other women in tech support, and they must have hired you just because you're a woman, and those kinds of things. So there was a lot of that early on. But I think, like Lachi was saying earlier, once, I got to a certain point and really established myself. I mean, I had worked many years to get to that point, but people,
right.
You get in the room and people are like, okay, I know who you are now. But when you're in the room and people don't know who you are, you face that, it's like, well, do you actually really know what you're doing? So yeah, it's definitely been a challenge for sure.
Can I say something to that too? Like, yeah. I love that it's kind of like, oh, well, when people try to tear you down because of it, instead of being discouraged, there's a fire lit under your ass or whatever. Yeah. I think that goes a long way for sure. Like, let Absolutely. It encourage you.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to add something to that. The question was, has there been anything that's been discouraging in the industry towards me as a woman?
Yes.
So my career has sort of been so varied and been so in so many different fields. And the overarching presentation for me has been monetary inequality, really. And
right.
And so how do we as women get paid for what we do equally as a man does? And that has been probably, I was never really aware of this stuff when we first started, but it's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing, and
I still can't believe it.
we're not getting paid what our male counterparts are getting paid. So is that just something that's discouraging? I was sure it's discouraging, but it, like Lachi just said, it puts fire underneath you at the same time. So my takeaway from all of this and how to fight that is, Lisa and I got an award a handful of years ago, based off of an incredible composer and orchestrator by the name of Shirley Walker. And Shirley was really famous for doing most of John Williams' orchestrations, and was incredible. She's just an incredible orchestrator and composer in her own right. And so one of the academies that we belong to wanted to give out the first Shirley Walker Award a few years ago, and to a woman, and they gave it to me and Lisa. We were thrilled to get it. There's no question we were thrilled to get it. But when we accepted the gift, the first thing I thought of was, I don't want to be remembered as a female musician. I don't. I want to be remembered as a musician. And my gender isn't a category that separates me from being a musician. It just shouldn't. Shouldn't be color, shouldn't be gender, it shouldn't be sex, it shouldn't be your orientation. You just are a musician. And that is the mentality all of us women need to take in everything we're doing out there. You are not a separate category that gets your day or your holiday or your space or your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're at that precipice in everything that we do in society, in our work, in our fields. We are the thing. We aren't the gender of it first. That's the takeaway. And if you have that mentality, it doesn't matter what you're going to be up against, because if you're walking that walk, if that's your intention, it's going to come to you. It will. You're going to be faced with all of this crap and forever and ever, and it's be like, how did you get this and how did you do that and how did it? It's just intention. And if you stay in that intention, it's just going to come. It will break through. It's calcified, but you will break through. You're not your gender first. You're your creative output first. Period. Then it comes.
That's amazing.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No, I'm actually
Mic drop.
speechless in that. Yeah,
I know.
Boom. It's like you say, it's laws of attraction, isn't it? You put it out there, you put it in the ethos, it will come to you. Yeah, brilliant advice.
And if all the men would just put male producer every time they
Hashtag.
to them.
Yeah, right. I know.
I am a man. Da, 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 da.
Exactly. It's interesting. We're at a time right now where female musicians are fighting for this new position in their field. The same way I think that chefs around the world have always been in the male dominant, and now women are in the same field and but they're still trying to be accepted as viable as a male as a chef. But there's still this female chef.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
This is a big.
Well, I hear you too, because like when someone says, oh, if someone says, oh, I just saw a doctor, everyone just assumes you saw a male doctor.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, well, the doctor that I saw was a female doctor. Why did I have to be told it was a female doctor? Just say doctor. Let me assume that it's either gender or neither gender. And
it's
we don't
with everything. I went and saw a black doctor, a black therapist, a white therapist, a female doctor. It's crazy town. It's just crazy. Just your intention should be just, I am this. And it just comes.
I think it's a really good point of advice to, like, everything you do it with intention.
Yeah.
Because if you're just wafting into the ether, you're never going to get like what you really want. I think
No.
know what you want and do it with intention.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah.
Everyone
Definitely.
is agreeing in the comments section.
Oh, it's going.
By the way,
It's going.
y'all are blowing it up.
Sorry, I stepped over my words. I get so heated with this stuff. Ah.
Preach,
good.
girl.
No,
Have
it's
this- I don't
great.
know how
It was
to
well
go back
said.
into,
Well said.
Exactly. I don't know how to go back into like, some directed questions now after that, but I will do. It's kind of going off subject.
Yeah, where do we go from there?
Yeah. But so I'll go into one for each of you now. We've got like 10 minutes left. So here's one from Mika. Wendy and Lisa, I know you must have learned a ton from Prince, but what did you teach him?
Ooh.
I love that.
Good question.
I think that we opened his mind a lot to harmonic complexity. He was always open to it, and he liked things like Joni Mitchell. I think that's what attracted him to her, because of her like open tunings and just the way that she played. She didn't just play a D major triad, it had twos and nines, and it was just more harmonically complex. So when we first started we'd always jam, and so when I first started feeling free enough, I started playing more, you might say jazz, or it was actually more influenced by classical music than anything. But, and then he'd look at me and he'd make the ugly face like that was funky or good or something. So it was always good when he made the ugly face at you because you did something good.
That face is only reserved for musicians.
Yeah.
At the time, it's like, oh no, we know what that face means.
Yeah.
And Wendy, do you have anything to add to that?
We came to that situation with so many influences ourselves. I mean, I was listening to Mahavishnu Orchestra like when I was 13, right? So it wasn't just funk music. So Prince loved and was comfortable to be around what our influences were, and was able to. He was free. What I think we taught him was that he could be free around certain people to explore who he really wanted to be at a young age. That was not a problem for him when he got older, but when we first started out, we taught him a certain amount of comfort level within his own exploration.
Awesome.
That's good. That is awesome.
That's true.
So we've got one for Lachi here. From Atlas Transmissions. Lachi, you worked with Markus Schulz. What is that like? His shows are crazy.
I really enjoyed working with trance. And trance is basically a division of EDM. Everybody here should know what that is. But it's funny because the trance world is its own it's its own community. And I was first like a little intimidated because I hadn't worked with trance. I was doing a lot of EDM and pop and whatever. So I was definitely intimidated to just the first time I work in trance, I'm working with like Markus Schulz, Armin van Buuren, all these guys. And I loved it. It was great. Everybody was so open armsy. Everybody on Markus Schulz's team was very open armsy. I ended up meeting so many amazing other musicians that spewed out into other projects. It's everyone knows everyone in trance, and everyone has worked with everyone. So it was really nice that everybody came to me and was like, your vocals are the best thing that has ever happened to my life ever. You need to work with me. And it's just such a positive experience and such a positive place. I really had a great time. I really had an amazing time. And I'm definitely coming out with more trance collaborations. And it all is thanks to my initial work with Markus Schulz on FAR.
Cool.
Awesome.
That sounds epic. And it's all about one thing will lead on to the next thing, and just keep that fire burning, keep that that velocity going after each job, after each project. Yeah. Cool. And there's another question here for Laura, and it's quite a lot further down in it, and I will find it. But the basis was about mentorship. So your mentorship work, like how do you keep yourself driven with that? And what's your preferred outcome of it? Is it mentoring women in the music industry? Is it mentoring like generally like younger people coming through? What's your purpose for that?
Oh wow, that's a great question. First of all, I'm stealing open arms.
Here we go. Kid Glass. Laura's also an incredible mentor. So.
Oh, that's amazing. He's one of my transmutants. That's what we call.
Yeah.
Transmutants.
Oh yeah, I saw that someone else commented, transmutant in the house.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's great.
It is about mentoring women. I mean, absolutely. We have more women in my program than I think ever before this time around, and we just started. So if anyone out there is interested in joining us, there's still time. We still have a few places. Actually, Kid Blast, who wrote that, he's one of my new TAs. So it's really exciting times. But yeah, just, especially in this time, giving artists and women especially an outlet to perform their music, right? Like just because touring is shut down doesn't mean our artistic output needs to shut down in terms of performing. And so really just taking this time to inspire women especially, to create a new live performance and do all the live streaming stuff and really take it there. And also getting into learning about how to monetize all of that and different ways to reach your audiences. And we just have a great community. I would be nowhere without my team. I mean, I have an amazing team, and just super grateful for everyone who contributes to my community to make it something special. But yeah, I mean, it is very meaningful for me. I mean, every time someone, accomplishes something or does a new show and tries something new, it really lights me up. It inspires me to dig deeper and go further with my own artistry, to learn new things, to take back to them, to show them that I've learned so that they can incorporate it too. So I don't have any secrets. Everything is just, especially if you follow me on social media, I'm putting up, I did a 5-day event a few weeks ago. It was all free on YouTube with Suzanne Ciani and other incredible artists, the album Leaf. And it was just all free, just all because I love to do it. So definitely check that series out. It's called Transmute Your Artistry. It's on my YouTube page.
Nice one. That sounds awesome. And we're going to be wrapping up soon. We've got a few more minutes. I've got one question to give to everyone. And it's quite a blunt one. I see it as a positive question. And then I guess, Kelsey, you can wrap up at the end. But here we go. So this is from Sarah Dillove. It's said to Laura, but I think I wanted it to everyone. I've been patronized so many times by male sound engineers, so by male artists, male, whatever. Just patronized by anyone. What would be a good comeback?
I mean, I think that the kind of what Lachi said earlier, the best comeback is just being really good at your job, because I've so many times I've walked in the room and, had that patronizing tone thrown at me. And then, when I just get in super professional mode and just rock it, they can't say anything, it just immediately washes everything away when it's like, oh, actually, you know what you're talking about. So I think there's no better comeback than just being really good at what you do. And also just, say, don't be afraid to say something. Like, it's really inappropriate to be talked to that way. So, I've said, yes, I'm doing my job and I do a good job at it. And if you don't think so, that's your opinion. But I think that I'm doing an excellent job here. So I don't know, just try to be kind, but with an edge. And just really show them, because they need to be taught. I think that's been happening in the comments. I've seen that, they need to be, people need to be taught and educated on how to behave. Yeah.
It's decorum, isn't it? It's decorum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Wendy, what's your point on that?
Well, I run the gamut. When that angers me, which it has in the past, I'm not proud of it, but I've been known to look at an engineer and just say, move. So
yeah, girl.
But what I normally try and do is, if I know I'm getting into a situation where they may not know who I am or what my abilities are, I try and be really clear about what my needs are in that situation. So if I walk into a session and I'm producing something, I always tell the engineer I'm very hands-on. I know my gear, and I need you to be generous of spirit enough with me to let me do what I need to do.
Sure.
So I think if you're clear enough about that, then you're going to have a partnership with whomever, and that engineer might be able to turn me onto things. I mean, one of my best friends is a guy named Chad Blake, and he's an incredible engineer and mixer. I've learned everything I've learned from that guy. So once another engineer knows where my skills had come from, plus years of doing it, there's a give and take. So learn to work with your engineer and come into a partnership with them. If you're an engineer and it's your session and that's your second, there should be no conversation whatsoever. That is your second, and they're there to facilitate the head engineer. If you're going in to produce something with engineer skills, be very clear with the first engineer that you have, if you haven't hired them, that you're very hands-on, and don't be apologetic for it. Just boom, it's your gig.
Don't be apologetic. That's a major thing. I went up DJing in the past, and other DJs I don't even know that like doing the set after me have come over and done my levels for me whilst I'm mixing, and it's just like no. Yeah, no.
Oh no.
No. So that conversation was ended right there. So Lisa, what's your take?
Oh my God. Well, just the same thing. Just know what you're doing and try not to be flustered by it. I mean, you could ask them what the square root of -1 is and see how long it takes them.
That's a good comeback. And Lachi, how about you?
I would just say you have nothing to prove to anyone. The only person you need to be better than is your past self. So I feel like if they come at you and you feel like, how dare you, how dare they, it doesn't, those who, a quote that is not by Dr. Seuss, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. And so if somebody's coming down on you, they're the single most person that you absolutely do not have to prove anything to. It's them. It's their own reflection of themselves that they're pissed off at. So I feel that you just don't have to prove anything to anyone. As long as you're confident in yourself and confident in your craft, like Laura and Wendy and Lisa have all said, you have nothing to prove to them. Just do what you got to do, and your work will speak for itself. And I like how Laura said you can walk into a room and just do what you got to do. I've been in situations where I've walked into a room and the engineers have been like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. And then I established myself, and I've walked into the same room with those same engineers, and they had a different tune. Yeah. So just establish yourself, be good at what you do, and you have nothing to prove to anyone.
Nothing.
Here we go. And this is the response from that person. So Sarah said, the best advice ever. Love you all. Thank you.
Love you too, Sarah.
Cool. So we've had so many questions. So many questions, so many comments, and we could go on for hours, couldn't we, Kelsey?
Yes, we definitely could. But
yeah, we're at the end of the hour.
We are. I know everyone has things they need to get to, but thank you all so much from the bottom of our Atom Audio family hearts for joining us, and to all the women who joined the previous sessions and everyone who's watched week after week. This has been so amazing, and every time I need a girl power pick me up, I'm going to come back and watch this video.
Yes, most definitely. And massive thanks to our sponsors, MediaTek, for sponsoring the whole series. They've been such supporters, and each of our special guests today has had a write-up in Music Tech. So do check that out. We'll be posting those on the socials as well.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yes, thank you.
I'll be getting in touch with each one of you, Laura.
I was just about to say that.
For sure. I was like, I am going to email you guys.
We're doing it.
You won't be able to get rid of me.
All of you ladies in LA,
please,
stay safe
please.
as well.
Thank you.
Lots of love.
All right, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.